So I haven't really filmed a video in a while, and hopefully by the time I'm editing this video, I've posted my autumn deck list situation, but to be honest, that kind of completely fell to the wayside, as did tarot practice and all that kind of stuff in many ways, because this past week my brother passed away, and I've just been going through it, I guess. It still feels very strange to say that he passed away. And I've just been thinking a lot about a lot of different things, going through his things, trying to find pictures. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I think something, though, is that he would have liked my YouTube videos, maybe, seeing decks. I wish I had spoken to him about it. I mean, I haven't really posted much here. I wish he and I spoke about a lot more things. But just to do something, I guess, and get my mind off of stuff. And considering I have like a little stack of decks that came in the last few weeks and a few that just arrived today, I want to just go through a recent deck haul, I suppose, and look at what's new. I don't know when I'm going to work with these. I'll start with the one I had over the weekend. And that's the Lost Oracle. I just got it on Amazon, and long story short, this last weekend, I had food poisoning and was not in a good way by any means, and kind of had looked through the deck several times because I got it during that ordeal, but didn't really work with it or anything, or do anything other than roll around and try to drink water and find anything I could stomach to eat, which was mostly unsuccessful, and long story, but at any rate, I got the Lost Oracle. I thought it looked really cool. I heard people talking about its witchiness. I think OwlMoon513, she mentioned it in more than one video I've seen recently, about it being a good witchy deck. And I can't remember specifically what she was saying, just about working with it, just that I was very intrigued. And I really do like the art. I thought it would go well with Hush Tarot, but I think I'm actually liking it best with my Jonasa Jaus Tarot. So I'll show you what both of those look like just for fun in a second. I always like to see the guidebook and what's in it, so I'm just gonna let you see, for example, hopefully without me setting it on fire, pages. And if you want to pause and read that, you go ahead and get a feel for whether or not this is a kind of deck you would like, because I always find I need to do that, or prefer to be able to do that, because I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to work with this one. I'm going to have to get to know it, but it's very intriguing, and I did do one pull with it, actually. I don't know for myself. I don't think I did yet, but for a friend, and I was pretty happy with how that pull came, like through, just the way it delivered the message that it gave. I really liked. So I'm looking forward to working with it personally. And like I said, I had gotten it thinking I would like it with Hush Tarot, so I'll show you how it looks. Although I do think my preferred pairing is going to be a different deck. With Hush, I'm pretty set on it with Obsidian Oracle, so I don't know that I'll really change that. But just to give you an idea of a few cards, 8 of Swords with Spiral, Time for Rest and Repose, and then the Empress. I do think they look nice aesthetically. But I think when I show you Jonasa Jaus, you'll see why I prefer that. And please, I know I'm saying that name wrong. I'm fairly certain I remember hearing someone saying the correct way to pronounce it is this, and it wasn't how I've been pronouncing it. So if someone knows, do correct me. But yeah, that's these guys together. But then my the pairing that I'm excited to work with it alongside with is this deck, which was in my autumn deck list. So this would give me an extra reason to work with it, because now I have an Oracle deck that I feel would pair beautifully alongside it. And I do tend to like using Oracle decks as sort of a center focus and then pull 2 cards beside. How do I not have room here? Beside it. And yeah, I think they just aesthetically do that thing where they look real nice together. I'll have to see reading-wise how I feel about it, because I've got less of a handle on this deck than I even do on this one, because this is kind of a different system. It's Marseille. I have not really worked with Marseille. I've just kind of lightly dabbled with looking into it, so we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think the way that the colors and also the art style work with each other is really appealing, and it makes me want to dive in and see if these will synchronize when actually doing a reading. So that's kind of my plan. Also, look at the backs. I love the backs on these. And the cardstock is an interesting, it's like a nice matte. But I don't know, there's a little toothiness to it that I like. It's kind of neat, feels different. But yeah, this will be interesting to dive into. This is like already kind of funny. Stardust and soil, opposites attract is the keyword. And then this is the Page of Wands, and this is the Knight of Coins. Opposites attract. Interesting. Yeah, because this is like that youthful, creative, kind of untamed and young energy, and then I always think of Knight of Coins as being someone who's a bit more serious, practical, grounded, mature for their age. So opposites attract. Maybe there's something going on there. That's quite funny. And you could even say maybe this is mimicked here. So I think, oh, and then he's also got his plant blooming from his hand, and that's being mirrored. So I think these will be interesting to read with together. And while I think it's going to be a minute as I work through grief and everything else, it'll probably be a minute before I get back into a practice where I'm doing something that involves these. I mean, I don't know. I just, honestly, at this time, I'm just doing what is called to me, and it's been death doula which has been really helpful. And that's a whole other thing, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. It's literally less than a week since he passed. I'm just kind of, I guess, dropping things. I don't know where I was, but the camera dropped. And if it does it a third time, we're just gonna call it a not today kind of a thing. I think I said something along the lines of, I don't know when I'm gonna work with these decks, but I do really like how they pair together, and I like the way they feel together when I'm looking at cards and flipping through them like this just to play. So definitely gonna pull them out when I feel called to do so. I think this is the Hanged one, Encirclement, and the Tower. Love will flourish when you surrender to great transformation. I don't know. When you surrender to everything falling apart. Yeah. Mood, I suppose. Then we got Justice, Raconteur, you are the catalyst, and Ten of Swords. Interesting. So yeah, I'm not gonna spend forever doing this because it's probably already gonna be a long video. I just really wanted to show this pairing because I've been thinking about it, where I was, at least back when I got this deck, and had messed around a little bit with pairs and thought they looked really beautiful together. I don't think for this deck, the Jonasa Jaus, I don't think that she has it currently, or maybe she does. She might have a new printing of it, actually, now that I think of it. This is the 7th edition, yeah. And there may be a new printing that she's doing. If I recall, it looks a little different, but, you know, if you overall like the vibe, it might be worth checking out. I don't think there's a ton of pictures of it. It's sort of one of those situations where you just take a little bit of a chance because there's only a few cards shown. I could be wrong. Maybe she has them on Instagram. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of much. But I do recall seeing that she maybe had another print run going. I always regret when I put the book at the bottom because nothing will ever lay well after that. Okay, so the other thing that came in was a Kickstarter, and that is the European Goddesses and Spirits Oracle deck, as well as I got the larger book. It does come with a book, but I figured I might as well get the larger book because that sounds fun. So I kind of just have flipped through this and pulled a card just to get a feel. Really beautiful box, and the way everything got upgraded, because I know that she did upgrade as the Kickstarter got successful and reached goals and stuff. So, and I think I had pulled out some cards. This is the little guidebook that it comes with. I had pulled out the goddesses that I've been either working with the longest time and knowing that I'm working with soon, I hope, I think, and ones that are, this is actually kind of like a past, present, future, unintentionally, because Artemis I've been working with a long time. Persephone is coming into play this winter, I think, when I feel up to it, I suppose. And then Hecate has been, she's made her presence known, but she's like, you got work to do, so I'll circle back. Sort of with the message I got, which is entirely fair. And this deck overall has many different, very beautiful representations of goddesses from European traditions. I'm sorry about the little dog barking. We're just gonna deal with it. Many of them I don't know. Many of them I know of, but don't know much about. Of course, I know Demeter. I know of Hel. I think I know of Ire. I don't know how to pronounce it, so I clearly don't know enough. So I'm going to be interested how I'm going to end up working with this. I'm probably going to try pulling from it as an oracle pull for those times when I do want to ask, what goddess energy is coming through, what wisdom is coming through for me right now, the wisdom of which goddess, or what message do I need to hear, kind of a thing, and see who comes through. But I also kind of thought, like another goddess deck I have, that I might end up working with it as an altar card type of a situation. Sorry if I've been slightly out of frame here. I'm just gonna have to see how it plays out. Oh, this is so beautiful for Nyx. But what's really, really cool about this, I kind of want to like show you all of them in case you're looking to see if there's a particular goddess represented in the deck. The Norns, so gorgeous. But yeah, I think I pretty much flipped through all the cards there, hopefully in frame. These are the backs, and then the edges are deep purple. And the cool thing is the books. Of course, mainly the big one, because of course the big one has the most in it. But the little book is great too. It's not as in depth. It doesn't have as much going on, but it does give you what you need. And it talks about, I didn't realize that she had done this. Maybe I'll show you in the bigger book this part, but the goddesses are broken down into different categories of archetypes, and I think there's like 8 in a wheel. And I really am intrigued to dig into that a bit more. But I want to show you, for example, with Artemis, let's say, this is what you get in the small guidebook that comes with the deck. You can pause and check that out if you like. The big book goes into more detail. You also get, a larger representation of the art, but then you get this, I don't know, I'd have to like really back up my camera. But you do get this whole kind of a page talking about Artemis and the context of her as a goddess archetype in terms of mythology and stuff like that. You get the divination and personal message, which I think is much of what's in the smaller guidebook, if I remember. And then you also get correspondences for each goddess, which is really nice if you're pulling these out as altar cards and want to work with them. Now, the funny thing, I didn't know or think about, I guess, or come across dance and music being sacred to Artemis. According to Homer, she was leading the dances of the Muses and the Graces, and in ancient times, ritual dances were performed in her honor. I didn't know that, so that's really cool. I mean, I sort of naturally have wound up doing that in a way, which is interesting to think about. But yeah, so it does that with every goddess, and then like I said, that I would show you, there's a whole section, introduction and approach to using these cards for divination. I really don't want to light this book on fire, so pardon me, I'm trying to be careful here. And then you get the whole 8 archetypes wheel of the deck and discussion of that. And then you also get, for each archetype, a little description, keywords for the archetype, and then the list of which goddesses are falling into that archetype. So it does that throughout for all 8, and I think that's really neat. I don't remember, back when I backed the Kickstarter, if I had read about that, or I'm sure people talked about it when they were going through the deck, when they were YouTubers, tarot tubers, whatever we call ourselves, who were getting the copy of the preliminary deck to show. And then it has all the cards in the back, has a bibliography, which is really awesome. Also, the inside cover, very awesome. And I think, it has the content. So it's alphabetical, but you can flip here, find who you're looking for, go to the page. So this is really cool. I'm very excited for this. I just am going to have to see how I work with it. But I will say, compared to the other goddess type deck I'm itching more to work with this one. Overall, when I'm looking at it and playing with it, we'll see. I don't know. If anything, though, they're great to put out as altar cards, or when you're doing work involving a particular goddess, or say you're doing a spread involving the themes that really line up with a particular goddess, putting that out and kind of setting yourself up a little ritual for that reading to call in their energy for guidance when you go to pull tarot cards. Like, those are the kinds of things that come to mind for me when it comes to using this deck or a goddess or god archetype deck in general. So that came in very cool, beautifully made. I'm so glad that the upgrades were achieved and everything, because I think this is gorgeous how it came out. I love a good magnetic close box. And also, this is I think this is hollow silver. It's not just silver. I could be wrong. The lighting here is questionable at the moment. So the next 3 decks, I'm going to start with the tarot first because it's the only tarot deck, and then we'll round it back out with the last 2 oracle decks. These came today. They were part of the Samhain sale at Llewellyn. And for, I would say, the great extent, both of them, but particularly this deck, I got the Witch Sisters Tarot because I'm thinking that it will line up with some work I had been doing the last few months with Women Who Run with the Wolves, which is a book that has impacted me a lot, and I'm only technically in chapter 3, I think. I've had to put it down. I put it down a few weeks ago, and then at this moment in time, like I said, in the thick of life. So I have not been working in that realm, but if I'm adding things to my collection, one of the things that is really speaking to me is either things that I think will work well with Persephone, since I know I'm feeling called to work with her archetype, her energy, or things that line up with that type of work I was doing in my journal with that book and the themes that come up with it. And Witch Sisters feels in line with some of that. So, I wasn't going to get this deck because it is another study deck. But at this point, I don't even know what kind of tarot decks I'm going to be buying outside of study decks, because if I want just a good tarot deck, I pretty much have my bases covered in my collection, I would say. I have something comforting and sweet. I have something more dramatic. I have something really classical. I have something, I have tarot decks that are, at least from an RWS standpoint, that kind of cover bases of whatever I might be feeling. So, and then the study decks, they're the ones that I'm like, well, there's nothing quite like this. And there's definitely nothing quite like Witch Sister in my collection. I don't know if I'm going to edge it a complementary, like a matching monochromatic pinkish type thing, or something more from the sepia colors that are in here. I did kind of have a funny reaction to the backs when I first saw them, because I was like, it kind of isn't what I would have expected. I'm going to say that. It's not that I don't like it, it's just not what I would have expected when I was initially seeing the deck. And the other thing, having looked at this now and flipped through it, I was sort of thinking, seeing this online, that I was going to really have a hard time connecting energies, so to speak, of what the cards are typically representing. Let me adjust my light a little bit because I feel like I'm losing it as the sun goes down. I thought I'd have a hard time with these because it's mostly portrait type stuff. Magician being a stag totally works for me in its way because I have worked a lot with stag energy and it means a lot to me, and that I can see that. Nick Nevin, I don't know enough about, but that's what the guidebook is for. And same with a lot of these. The majors are definitely going to be an adjustment because they do have title changes and they do not look traditional at all. I imagine once I get into the book, I'll see where they're echoing from that original place of RWS, I think. But my understanding is that this is also taking its own path, and I'm very curious to learn about it. I will say, even like the Hermit as a portrait, having it in person, like I really feel the energy. And I was noticing that the first time I flipped through it, that despite the fact that it's very portrait based, which can, at least the way I was thinking about it, not having another deck that's really like this, it made me think I was going to really have a harder time tapping into the energy, but I'm kind of not. There's something in the artwork and the expression that in a lot of ways is whispering the energy to me, and I'm finding that intriguing. So this will be an interesting deck to get to know for sure. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing with it. I think it will play nice with a lot of the themes that come up in that book I'm reading and want to work through on a deeper level with the mythology and the themes and the psychology of the intention behind all the stuff involved there. So this will be an interesting one to add to the practice. And I think when I was doing that stuff and more involved in that a bit more, I would even have more to add to what I'm saying about it right now, but I've been tapped out for a couple of weeks and my brain is in a bit of a fried state, so doing my best. But these are my first impressions with the Witch Sisters. And it makes me want to get Tarot of the Hidden Realm. I almost did. But I was like, let me not get both at the same time because I just want to see. This is the one that's calling loudest to me. It's a little darker feeling and I understand where it's coming from. Tarot of the Hidden Realm has more of that fae thing going on, and I don't at this point have not yet really delved into that energy. So, but having gone through this one, I'm kind of thinking I most likely will get that the next time that I can, because I find her artwork, Julia Jeffrey's artwork, very intriguing. It's also really beautiful and expressive. And I know with Tarot of the Hidden Realm, maybe this one's the same. I haven't paid enough attention, but I think all the aces in that deck just line up really well, animal-wise, to how I view them. So that's cool. But yeah, I know a lot of people have gotten this deck and have really loved it, so I'm curious to get to know it and see what that kind of means and plays out for me. So we'll see. But yeah, something about the backs kind of does, it's just unexpected to me. Pretty. It's kind of unexpected. But I like it. I like this deck overall. And that I noticed the sky suit, which I'm assuming is swords-esque. I don't know if it is swords, but I think it is swordsy. But most of it has this more gray-blue tone to it. And then we get to Eight of Skies, which is the image on the box and everything. And it overall is just, I mean, that looks really cool. Now I see the backs. It's hard to pick because the different suits or different cards, like they kind of ebb and flow into color palettes, which is pretty neat. Oh, Ace of Stones is cool. So yeah, I'll be curious to see and dive into this. Get a feel for what kind of teachings will come from it. And then I want to see quickly, because I don't think I even looked at the book really. So we do get into, as it says, the beginnings. This is the background, how to do a reading. And then we have the gathering, major arcana. So it kind of gives an overview, and then we get into card meanings. And so I'm thinking each suit, let's see. Yeah, each suit kind of has a sort of title page for it that will describe, oh, is it each suit? Or just the majors and the minors? Might just be majors and minors. And also each suit has the page describing its corresponding, like trees are equivalent to wands and is of the fire element. While the title is trees, the imagery encompasses a wider range of flora and fauna. So it gets into that kind of stuff and will walk you through structure of things. So that's really neat. And it looks like each description for the cards are not really, really long. They're just kind of one page. You've got a description of the card going on here, talking about the card, and then as a divinatory meaning, what is going on and what is being divined. I don't know, guys. My ability to form sentences is not really at its peak, so I apologize. Down the line, hopefully I can do a video that's better and can speak to this more. This is just my haul. This is just my getting through it haul. But yeah, that's the Witch Sisters Tarot. I really wasn't going to get this one, but I kept hearing about it and I kept thinking, you know what, it looks like it's gonna fit really well into that thing I was doing and would like to keep doing. So it is here, it's in my collection. It's the only tarot deck that I acquired in this whole situation of a video because, like I said, I kind of feel pretty happy with the decks I have, and if I'm getting another tarot deck, it's because it does something different. The next deck that I got in the sale was the Magickal Botanical Oracle. I've had this one in mind for a hot minute, so I wanted to hop on it for a bunch of reasons. I have not even looked at the book, so I'm excited for all of this. You might have seen this, it's been around for a minute. It's not the most thick deck, you know? It's not the most cards. I forget how many it is, but I'm kind of okay with that. It's 33. It's actually feels nice though for 33 cards. And I think the artwork is really beautiful. And the idea of having this kind of a plant deck is really appealing to me. It also feels like, wow, it's a plant deck, so I'm probably going to enjoy it in spring. The aesthetic of it suits itself for the dark half of the year. And I was just feeling really intrigued. I also have not yet looked at it with Hush Tarot, but was thinking it's probably going to work really nicely with Hush Tarot. So let's give that a try. Let's see. I don't want to shuffle it yet, so I'm just gonna Yeah. Well, because you already saw those cards. If you're watching me flip through, we'll just... Let's go make it too short. Screw it. We'll do this. Get this a little more shuffled up here. I already like it. We'll have to see how they read. Oh, the backs also I absolutely love, and I think when it comes to edging this, I might have a pen. What do you call this? Tombow. I might have a Tombow that is this sort of putrid green. Is that what we want to call it? I don't know. But if I do, that is probably what I'm going to edge it in, because I've done black on plenty of things, and as much as that might work with it, I just feel like it'd be cooler to have something that pulls from that unique back of its design. I can't even look at this and necessarily say how they're going to work together, because even though I might have some association with a handful of these plants, I don't know what the guidebook's going to get into or be like. This might also be neat with Witch Sisters, just conceptually, so I'll have to see about that. But at least when it comes to Hush, I do think, at least on an aesthetic level, I'm going to like them, which gives it a good shot that I'm going to like working together with them. But we'll have to see. I'm going to have to see how I like working with this Oracle, where it falls into place, because with Oracle decks, it can really just... The door's wide open as far as how they're going to fit into practice. Tarot decks, I can usually feel it out rather quickly. But Oracle decks, I feel like I need more time working with them often to really sink teeth into what they're going to be doing in my practice. But yeah, I think these look really neat. I don't know what else I would pair this with. Maybe Children of Ostara. When that comes, we'll see if that's too much plant energy going on. Or I wonder... Yeah, I have some I wonder about. I'm not going to grab them all, because I'm fading, to be completely honest. And these were the ones that I kind of had in my head, so we'll just stick with that. But if you have this Magickal Botanical and you have... Well, two things. If you have a way you like working with this or anything you want to share about working with this, I'd love to hear it. So please do leave a comment and share that. Or if you have tarot decks or other decks that you just really love the synergistic energy between them or the aesthetic, whatever, please do share. I love hearing that kind of a thing. I think that's the last card in the deck, the Witch's Garden, right? Yes. So that is Hush Tarot with the Magickal Botanical. When it comes to the book, one of the other things that really drew me to this deck was that Christopher Penczak was involved, and I'm working my way through Inner Temple and have enjoyed that. So I'm going to be intrigued to read more. And then as far as how it goes inside, you have this for the main page. Love Lies Bleeding. Interesting. You've got the magical meaning for the card, the plant spirit medicine, the divination meaning, and then the reversed divination meaning. as well as an affirmation. So that's really cool. I like how that's broken down. I like how it's organized. I also like the font and everything in this book. Feels like it's going to be very approachable, and while it's a fair bit of text in a sense, it's not, I don't know. I like the layout of the book and the size of it as well, to be honest. And then I guess you get all kinds of stuff in the front. You get something talking about how they do the element correspondences and things, and some preamble to get you into the headspace of this deck. And then anything in the back? Let's see. So interestingly, in the back is how to work with the cards. And this is like a good chunk of book, and there seems to be a lot in here. We've got protection spell, we've got different spreads, love spell, prosperity spell, and it's all working with, I suppose it's like calling in the plant energy without necessarily having to have the plant, which is really cool because some of the plants in here are baneful. It might be hard to get, or maybe you just don't want to have on hand. I have a cat. I get nervous about having stuff that's problematic in that sense, but a bit about meditation and journeying. I don't know what this... Oh, this is the archway to visualize, which is really cool. And it talks about readings for the self, for others, preparing the cards for use. That'll be interesting to read through. So you get a lot in here. You get other spreads. That's quite a large spread for a 30-something card deck, so that's interesting. Heart of the Garden. So this will be a lot of fun stuff to read through and explore. So yeah, nice chunky book. I think the book is thicker than the deck, which is neat. It's always fun when you get a book that's like got a lot going on. So looking forward to this one and how it seems to pair with Hush and how it'll sort into my collection overall. It would be nice if there were more cards, but I think the ones it has in it are very intentional, is the feeling I get. So that is Magickal Botanical. Very glad to have added this to my collection. It's been on my wish list for a hot minute, and the sale was just a perfect reason to get it. And then the last one I got was the Compendium of Witches' Oracle. This was another one where I was like, I don't know, am I gonna get it? Am I not gonna get it? Do I like it? Do I not like it? What the heck am I gonna do with it? But then I heard a couple different people speaking to it, and I know one of them was Racine, but I don't recall the other person, and I'm really miffed if I'm not gonna be able to find her video, because she was speaking to how she worked with the two separate sections of this deck, and I was really intrigued. But we'll see. Maybe if I dig far enough in my history, I don't know when that was. It might have been a couple weeks ago, so that would be a thing. But yeah, Compendium of Witches' Oracle has two sections to it, and you can work with it however you want, but also the backs are really cool. And of course you can work with it however you want, but I do like the idea of keeping them separate based on everything I've heard and seen about other people talking about their use of the deck. So I'm going to start out that way and see if it sticks. I like how these cards feel. And this is definitely, this is a low Scarabeo. Is it? Well, that's surprising. I didn't know it was low Scarabeo, because this isn't usually how they do their decks, so that's neat. I really like this cardstock, actually. Again, it's like that toothy matte, and I enjoy that. So this section of the deck is sort of the archetypes of witches. I haven't read the book. I'm not going to be able to explain this super well. There's definitely, you can hear the toothiness. Nice. I think Truth and Story has a really good long video talking about this deck. if you want to look up something that probably is going to be able to go into a nice depth of detail, but I think it will be intriguing to explore these archetypes and how I might want to work with this in spell work or in guidance towards that or whatever. I don't know. I think even, who was I watching recently? Garden Goddess Tarot. I think that's who I was watching, or she had recently got this deck as well and was speaking to how she worked with it. Maybe that's the video I'm thinking of. And I was super intrigued, so when the sale happened, I just jumped. And this is the other section of the deck, which is more like the objects of ritual or the, familiar standing stone. It's got all these sort of objects or scenes or elements of ritual to it. Mountain, that's a concept, if you will, or scene, storm, same thing. So it's got a neat way to work with it, and I'm curious to dig into the book to get to know how it's explained and what's recommended, like what's the jumping off point, and then navigate it on my own and see how this plays in. I don't know if I'll be able to show what I want to show of these all in one go. I might have to do it twice, I think, but I thought this was gonna pair probably really beautifully. Maybe, let's see, with Tarot of the Witch's Garden. That was my thought, my thinking. That might have cut me off because I had an alarm, but what I was saying is I thought that this deck would pair really well with Tarot of the Witch's Garden. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. If I'm going to work with it in that way, because sometimes maybe this is an oracle deck where it's kind of like an aside to a reading rather than being in the wheelhouse of the reading. I don't know. It might kind of be its own thing, kind of an oracle. Oracles are interesting because they really can just go so many different ways. There's no limit, in the sense of it could become so many different things. Sometimes it's the kind of oracle deck that works best with tarot cards. Sometimes it's the kind where it's a daily pull. Sometimes it's the kind where it works best for ritual or very specific types of things or instances of seeking guidance. I don't think this is going to be a super general oracle deck, is my sense. And I do think it goes really nicely with Tarot of the Witch's Garden, were I to pair it with tarot. Like, that sort of just looks like it's working really well. And then for the other section of the deck, yeah, like this might be cool to pull from the more archetype section of the deck and have it, see, I don't think it would fit if I tried to stack the two of them, but to have that above and then one of these cards below, and then work out a spread where you pull tarot cards, 2 or 4 or whatever comes up, whatever seems fitting. I think that's going to be really interesting. Or maybe I work with this oracle deck sometimes in this sort of a format where I'm using it in a tarot reading more so, and then the archetype will be like what voice is coming through, and then what wisdom of their voice or what guidance of their voice is coming through. And I think it's just going to be interesting to play with and see what comes up. And I do like these together. So that'll be neat. But yeah, that's my haul. Mostly Oracle, because like I said, I feel like I have a tarot collection that's hitting all the places that it needs to hit for me at the moment. Although I was gonna also get the Yokai Tarot that is coming out. I think that's a Low Scarabeo deck as well. But, and I meant to place a second order during the sale, but I didn't. And here we are. And I don't know. Oh, actually, because this is a Low Scarabeo, something to note with the guidebook. This is not, how do I say? There's multiple languages in this. So the actual English portion is this big. Which I kind of... Did I see that, like, when this was an indie deck, that there was a larger guidebook that she had separately sold? I don't know if that's still available. I might have to look into it. I don't know that it's necessary in any way. But of course, because I have the deck, I'd be curious to look into that. But it looks like, and this makes sense to me, that for these little element cards or object cards, you get these shorter descriptions. And that makes total sense. The archetype ones, I'm sort of thinking I would really like to dig more, but I don't know. Maybe this is going to be plenty. Maybe it leaves it open for me more so than it would if this was like 2 pages per archetype situation. And I don't know, does this even really then get into the... Oh, yeah, so the witches depicted are voices and the whispers are the symbols, the symbol cards. I kind of forgot that terminology when I was going with it. And actually it's only pretty brief in terms of getting to the cards, so I will just explore this on my own a bit and see, and I might, out of curiosity, just see if there is that larger book in existence. But it's probably not necessary, and it's probably going to be fun to just let this sort of evolve as I work with it. I really like the concept though. So, anyway, I'm going to start rambling if I continue on. If you have this deck and I've worked with it, because I know it's been out for a minute between the indie and the mass market, I'd love to hear your thoughts, how you work with it, any tidbits, anything that comes to mind that you'd like to share. I'd be super appreciative. And then as for new videos, I don't know. I might go into the dark for a little while with everything going on, but I think I'm going to try to keep posting for my self-care. I don't know. Just because I really do enjoy TarotTube, I enjoy talking about decks, and I really, 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 really want to, more than hauls or talking about the decks in my collection or whatever, I want to get into talking about practice or talking about how I work with them as tools. And that feels a little more overwhelming because I want to articulate things in a way that is helpful for people and not just me rambling on and on as best I can, because I can otherwise have quite the tendency to ramble. Maybe you guys will end up liking it if I do that anyway, so I don't know. I'm just going to experiment and give what I can when I can. But I really would like to talk about practice because it took me probably, I'm like 1.5 years into being a lot more dedicated to it than I ever was. And it took me a lot of that time to navigate. And I think some of it, when it comes to working with cards for personal, because I do that a lot more than reading for others. But when it comes to using it as a personal tool, that really is a personal journey. But I would love to share more because I think it helped me a lot hearing how other people worked with decks. And experimented with their practice, and it gave me ideas to bounce off of and experiment with, and I think that's really what it's about at the end of the day. So, yeah, I do plan to, intend to, and really look forward to sharing that kind of stuff. I'm just in a bit of a headspace right now where this was the kind of video I could make today. And I guess the kind of place my practice is going into for the time being is going to be around grief work and navigating that. So we'll see. Maybe I'll just pull a card for us here on that note. But I don't really, it's one of those times where I don't really know what I'm doing. It's a new path, a new place to be. And that's okay. That's part of the practice, is getting to that point where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, and all the other things I was doing in my practice really don't seem relevant now, and that means that I'm winging it, and that's kind of where the magic is. I mean, I've really just been working with Death Doula the past 2 days. I've otherwise been in a total blackout of practice. And even just those 2 days and those 2 times I pulled cards, and the fact that the card I pulled yesterday was the card I pulled today, has meant something, has helped in a small way. And I think when you're in grief or in a difficult situation, the small thing helping is sometimes the biggest thing. And yeah, that's where I'm at. Let's see what our message is. Too many cards. Just an as above, so below, perhaps, to end off on whatever note comes through. Seven of Coins, checking in on your progress, seeing where you're at and where you want to go, and then beneath that, the world. The total completion of everything. Take that for what you will. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I hope I see you soon. Have a good day, evening, or whatever it is where you are, and I'll see you next time.